Hi.
Hi, Leah. How are you?
Very nice to meet you, Megan.
Nice to meet you. Great to chat with you. So
You-
excited to talk about your work and congratulations on your first Emmy nomination.
Thank you. I'm thrilled.
How exciting. Um, and I was looking at your resume. You have so many great shows and movies that I've loved, like Mrs. Fletcher and How to Be
Oh,
Single,
amazing.
Sleeping with Other People. All great stuff. So yeah. But yeah, Fleischman is in trouble. One of my favorites from last year. What was it, the creative process like for you? Like, where did you start with working on this show?
I'm a New Yorker myself, um, raised here since I was two. So, the sort of understanding the dynamic of New Yorkers just sort of as a baseline and that kind of milieu of the upper middle class of the Upper East Side and what that whole universe is like is a very studied one. So I actually just spent some time walking the Upper East Side. I grew up on the Upper West Side, so I'm familiar very much with the neighborhood, but a lot of inspiration just comes from really looking around at real people and kind of seeing what's going on. The show itself takes place from 1986 to 2016. And when we filmed the show, we were still, not post COVID, but we were still very much, we were masked at work. We were still very much in the COVID period. So it was really a lot about tailoring the research to um, fashion in 2016, understanding exactly what silhouettes designers were putting out, handbags that were of that exact moment, like what was au courant that would pinpoint for our audience exactly that election period summer of 2016. So it was both looking around at real life and seeing what was happening, because things have sort of, not everything changes. Some of it stays very much static in terms of Upper East Side life, but then really taking a lot of time to look backwards at 2016 and understand that time period and land us, ground us there.
That's really fascinating. I even was thinking, I forgot that it started in 1986. That I was thinking the last 20 years, but really it goes back further. What kind of, I mean, you kind of spoke about a little bit about this, but what kind of considerations did you have to make with like trends and how they changed? Or even, what did you notice specifically that, that really was maybe specific to 2016?
I think a big difference was that leisure wear was really starting to present itself as streetwear attire, and people wearing leggings and tank tops like that, and certainly all the tank tops with all the sayings on them. That was very much of 2016, where workout wear became everyone's sort of everyday, and was kind of a status symbol in its way. It's a lot of those brands that were higher end, were certainly worn by certain people and that kind of thing. So I think the biggest difference is probably the leisure wear element. And then also just looking at what designers were really popular. Then, we also we used a lot of Narciso Rodriguez on Claire Danes' character, and we did that in the flashback of their relationship, because, sort of 2010 was the pinnacle of his a lot of his runway collections and things, and so we wanted to pull pieces from those collections that would highlight her paying attention to fashion of that period, spending money on it, picking classic pieces, that kind of thing.
That's so interesting. I could talk about each style of each character forever, but I know I only have a few minutes. But actually wanted to talk about Toby's style. I
Yeah.
feel like he wears a lot of cargo shorts, which I think
Yeah.
really speaks to like that millennial guy aesthetic. And was that something? Were there cues in the script that kind of led you that way?
No, the things I think that came out of the script that we really, pulled from the verbiage there was really just about that this is a guy who had really nice things, that Rachel, when they were in, their marriage, certainly as she was climbing the social ladder and wanting them to sort of really fit in into this lifestyle, was having him buy, things that I think made him a little uncomfortable. They were more expensive than he would have spent. But as a result, he has a lot of really nice things. He just doesn't take care of them anymore. Um, and so it's a combination of things that used to go to the dry cleaner now get thrown in a laundry basket and go into the lobby of his kind of crummy apartment building into the washing machine. And so they're not taken care of so nicely, or he has the same sport coat that he hangs on the back of his door at work and just puts it on if his boss comes in, or has to go to an important meeting, or to a date. But, the shorts, it was kind of like, he's coming into his own again in this apartment. And you imagine that he had things kept in his closet, even from college and medical school, that Rachel groaned every time he pulled out. In the beginning of their relationship, it was sweet and endearing, and she liked that he didn't care about how he put himself together. And then when presentation was so important to her and keeping up with the Joneses, she would say like, "Oh, you can't wear those in the Hamptons. You can't wear those shorts." So I
Yeah.
think it was a little bit of a rebellion, quietly, to pull that thing out that she hated and that he wears now all the time. So
That's fascinating. Makes perfect sense too. I was also thinking that he seemed like somebody who she would dress him, and he would probably just, now that she's not there anymore, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go back to which is kind of what he's been doing.
yeah.
Um, which character style do you think changes the most over the course of the show, Libby or Rachel? Or maybe, or like, I wanted to hear a little bit about, what went into kind of developing both of these different styles. Even though I think at some point they become similar.
Yeah, I think probably Rachel has the biggest arc, because she doesn't come from money. um we meet her as a child, and she wears a uniform at school, and in some ways that helped her to kind of fit in when she didn't fit in with those other girls, and she's always sort of like striving to fit in. So I think once she starts to gain traction with her career and they're making more money, you can see that there's a shift in the kind of clothing that she buys. We started to streamline prints and pulled them away from her as she got more moneyed. Things got more monochromatic, everything got much more tailored. There was a real sort of sophisticated feminine elegance to the way that she dressed, whereas earlier on in their relationship, there's a real sweetness to the way she
Yeah.
dresses. Much more textural, soft sweaters and layers and sweet prints, and things that feel warm, because that's how Toby really saw her then and how she may have seen herself. Um, and so I think, we pulled all of that away as we move into the present day part of our story and further into their relationship. And then Libby, Libby is a woman who has been working at a men's magazine and striving in a very male dominated field. And so we kind of incorporated a lot of man tailored elements into her work attire. She did wear blazers and shirt dresses and, um, like kind of lace up boots, but they had a solid heel that kind of, was a nod to wearing an Oxford. Um, I wanted to pull in some of that for her, that her kind of trying to fit in was in this boys club. So it was, don't be too feminine, be, more composed, be more conservative, don't express yourself the same way. Um, and then as she moves into her life in New Jersey with her family and her kids, a lot of that kind of put togetherness that she had in her work environment fades, and now she's like t-shirts and shorts and high-waisted wide leg pants and things that are comfortable.
Yeah.
I think she's really moved into a universe where comfort is paramount. Um, and there's that whole scene at the swimming pool where she looks around and every woman is sort of in the same tankini that she is, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like I'm this suburban woman now." Um, so clothes can be emblematic also of sort of where she is in her life and her trajectory. When she comes to meet Toby in the city for the first time after they've reconnected on the phone, she does don a blazer. That it's a Rachel Comey kind of ad hoc soft blazer, but it's something that nods to how she was when she lived in the city. And so it's a chance for, and she wears a skirt which we rarely see her in, but she does it with sneakers and a tote bag and a
Yeah.
t-shirt, so it's more lived in. So it's kind of like a merging of her world. So I suppose they both have one. I mean, Rachel's might feel more obvious, but they both have one.
I also like how Libby wears like boiler suits or like jumpsuits
Yeah,
type of. I love that. And it also speaks to like kind of being comfortable but also hip. Like I think too that she,
totally. She
yeah,
hasn't totally, like she hasn't completely, she is someone who understands things that look good on her,
yeah,
that she has a certain quality that she can just put something on and it works in its own way, like and she
yeah,
has a cool collection of stuff. I think she's just like kind of an eclectic cool person, and so the things she has, whether it's a band t-shirt or even the fairway t-shirt that she works out in at the dance class, like she's got a little bit of cool edge to her in a different
she
way.
does. Yeah, I love that about her. I also love that, the second to last episode, I think that is the one, where they finally connect Libby and Rachel, and Libby finds out what Rachel's been up to. And I think it's interesting that they're both kind of in like t-shirts and comfortable pants. And I
Yeah.
was thinking, is this like them meeting in the middle? Was that like your intention, kind of maybe them being on the same similar levels in some way?
I think there's a part of it where Libby has always held Rachel in on a certain pedestal. Their most of their relationship, Rachel sort of looked down upon Toby's friends, didn't think that they were kind of good enough in terms of the world for them to be moving in. And by them meeting and her being in sweatpants, even though she does have a blazer on that she would have worn to work, that she's really kind of down and out of her armor the way they had normally seen her, I think allows her to sort of finally see Rachel in a softer light that she hadn't earlier. And so I think by taking that down, it does feel more relatable for Libby.
That's really interesting. This has been such a great conversation. I just have like one more question, I think. I need to ask you about Rachel's "You Can Go Home Now" shirt in that iconic screen, like this probably one of the most memorable scenes in the entire series. Like,
Yeah.
how did this come about? And yeah, tell me everything about it.
So that was scripted. It's essentially as she's sort of moving through this, when she gets left at the hotel and realizes that that relationship is ending and it wasn't what she thought it was. She is Days move very fluidly in that, and Taffy really wanted to present an opportunity for us to play with those t-shirts that all the women were wearing, which we established early on at the
Yeah,
92nd Street Y, with her slowly unraveling, and so having a t-shirt that says, I think it came from a place initially, I think Taffy told me that she once saw someone wearing a t-shirt that said, "You can go home now," or which was sort of like saying to someone you shouldn't be at the gym, or
yeah.
you don't belong here. But so those words move over time as she starts to unravel. Like, you should go home now, you can go home now, those words morph a little bit on screen. And so we wanted to do it in a way that was really subtle, in terms of not necessarily picking up that the words kept changing, but that the silhouette maintained the same vibe that we saw at the 92nd Street Y in the beginning. But it's also very stark because it's all black and white. And so that scene, is really about her just losing it, or finally releasing it, might be a better way of saying it.
Yeah. Was that something you designed or was that something you pulled from like
So
or
we did
yeah.
I would say well, all of those on Rachel were all custom made by us and our
Wow.
team on the show. And I would say 80% of the other ones that you saw on the show we created. Um, so we looked at all different designs of kind of what had been out there, but a lot of that's not accessible the same way anymore. And we
Yeah.
also, because of licensing and all sorts of stuff like that, we wanted to have freedom with the design process. So we created our own, we married fonts with verbiage. There was Taffy gave us this extraordinary list of sayings that she wanted to see on t-shirts. So we took her list and put it together with imagery and fonts and colors of t-shirts and all that stuff. And we manufactured a lot of that stuff.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Some things were, some things we did get, like Spiritual Gangster was a brand that was very popular during 2016. So, we pulled things from the actual brand and that kind of stuff, but a lot of them we manufactured.
That's so interesting. That's so cool. Wow, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you and great work on the show. And
Thank you.
great. Can't wait to see other work that you do in the future since clearly I like all those shows you work on. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm really thrilled, and thanks for doing this.
oh
It's
no
such a nice
problem.
opportunity to just keep talking about that I'm really proud of, and our whole
Yeah.
team. It was really a special experience.
I can tell. It was a special show. So yeah, great. Well,
Thank you
thank you
so much.
so much. Yeah, have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.